Well, hello everyone out there in the football world. We are the Head Couch Analysts. I am your host, Sanders, and as usual, I am joined by my co-host, Andrew Pardue, over here. We are both sad boys this weekend because our quarterbacks played terribly this last weekend. My quarterback couldn't even throw for over 100 yards, and his quarterback threw 3 fucking interceptions, and all 3 of them were more or less his fault. So we don't feel that good right now. Both our teams took some L's, but you know what? We took some L's together. It's all right. Other than, our team's taking L's, how's your week going?
I mean, it's going. It's Wednesday, so it was hump day, but we got a wonderful, amazing, incredible football game on Thursday night to look forward to, right?
Oh, yeah. The Jets and the Broncos can't fucking wait. No. Actually, I kind of do look forward to it because I need to see my favorite coach in the NFL get fired. I need to see it happen.
No, he needs to stay on the roster for one more week. The Cardinals play him week 5.
You know what? The roster's not even that good, dude. I think even if you had a different coach, you'd be fine.
Obviously. But who knows? Maybe they'll play harder for someone. Anyway.
You know what would feel worse is if they kept Adam Gase and you lost.
I won't be.
He's like, I won't be around. He would metaphorically off himself in the football world. I think anybody who loses to the Jets would. Anyway, if you're new to the show, we have a format to the show. We like to talk about our takeaways from the previous week. We like to do a segment called Check Down, First Down, and Hail Mary. And you'll see what the format of that's like in a little bit. And then we make some predictions for the very next week. So, but before we do that, though, Pardue over here's got a little bit of a segment he wants to go to, so I'm going to put him on his soapbox, and I'm going to let you go.
All right, so I got in a bit of a heated discussion with a couple of my buddies about this today, but I want to hit on the number one story in the NFL right now, and that is the coronavirus outbreak in the Titans. Now, I don't remember quite the number on the players and the personnel, but I believe they have a total of 6 or 7 cases. One more happened to another player. None of the player names have been announced. So that'll be something interesting to see if any big-name player isn't playing on Monday or Tuesday, as they have announced that the game is postponed, but it will be played on Monday and Tuesday, most likely on. But given the situation, I've heard a lot of fans get upset and think that it's unfair for the Titans. And at first I kind of thought that as well. I felt like the Steelers, and I still do feel like the Steelers have a massive advantage since they're able to continue on business as usual. But the Titans did it to themselves. As of right now, they played the Vikings over the weekend, and through 2 days of testing or 3 days of testing since the game, they have no positive cases. So that tells me none of those players got it from the Vikings, and it was all on them. So if you're getting sick, this is the first cases since training camp began that any player has gotten COVID or any player personnel has gotten COVID. So to me, that says the Titans weren't taking the protocol seriously enough and they went and got themselves sick. So it's on them. And that is something that the NFL took very, very seriously as well, and also said, hey, you're responsible for this. And if you get sick, this is what's going to happen. And yeah, it's unfair, but you guys wanted football. In the offseason, a couple weeks before the preseason was supposed to start, NFL players all went on Twitter and said, we want football, we want football, we want to play. Come on, NFL, we want to play. And then the NFL said, okay, we'll let you play. But these are all the protocols you need to follow. If you accept that, we can play. And players did. So as of right now, we haven't heard any of the Titans players complain about it. And I expect not for them not to, because I think they understand the situation they put themselves in themselves. Now, when like I said, a lot of people have brought up how this might be unfair. I disagree. Again, the Titans did it to themselves. It's unfortunate, but this season is going to be unfair. We all kind of knew coming into the year it wasn't a matter of if there's going to be COVID cases. It was a matter of when. So anybody's panic of, cancel the season or the season's going to get canceled, that's not going to happen. And a lot of people were worried, well, are they going to push this game back to, are they going to create a week 18 for this game? Are they going to cancel bye weeks or move bye weeks around? How are they going to adjust to this? And the thing is they're not. The NFL isn't going to cater to them. The NFL catering to the teams was expanding the practice squad and allowing veteran players to be signed to practice squad so you could have additional backup players in case your initial roster got sick. So that was the plan, and that's what they gave to the teams. It's your fault if your players get sick, because if you follow the guidelines, it shouldn't be a problem.
So
now,
there's two takeaways I want to take away with this before you finish.
mm-hmm.
I think the Titans just may have gotten unlucky. You get sick sometimes, right? Regardless of how safe you are about things. Even Japan. Let's not even talk about COVID. Let's talk about 5 years ago, right? Japan is a society that when you're sick, you wear a mask. It's seen as a sign of respect to everyone else around you, right? Despite the fact that sick people wear masks in Japan, people still get sick anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to remember these are men that are sweating all over each other, breathing all over each other, and whatever else it may be. Whatever happens between the hotel and the stadium, we really don't know. Theoretically, it's hotel, bus, stadium, then stadium, bus, hotel, and then hotel, bus, airplane, right? It's theoretically what it should be. But you have to take into consideration when you go into the hotel room, it may have been sanitized, but did the person who sanitized it have COVID? You have no idea, right? You really...
Or if they got on a plane.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd say they got a little unlucky. I think the NFL's done a pretty good job compared to, let's say, Major League Baseball did early on.
Agreed.
Major League Baseball kind of started without a plan, and we saw early on that it took a hit because of it. But the NFL's done a good job. I have two things to say about this. I didn't think I'd have anything to say about it, but I have two things to say about it. One, if it was someone like Ryan Tannehill or Derrick Henry, I think we'd be talking about switching bye weeks. But because it was only a long snapper, which, don't get me wrong, the long snapper is important, but you can replace the long snapper pretty easily and low key. The other one was a third string tight end, and then I forget who the third person was, and the fourth person that was announced today was Kamala Correa, a guy who the Titans traded from the Ravens for a 5th-round pick, and he's a rotational player. He was a rotational player in Baltimore, and now he's a rotational player in Tennessee. No big names, I think, means just bring up your practice squad players and play it out on Monday. Because like you said, you knew this was going to happen. I didn't think it would get delayed. When it was announced, they're like, oh, huge news. I read that news, and I was like, they're still playing on Sunday or Monday. That was my attitude. I'm like, if it wasn't anybody serious, and no offense to players 45 through 53, that's just what happens when you're at the bottom of the barrel, right? That happens in life. That happens in football. That happens in anything. If you're at the bottom of the barrel and something unfortunate happens to you, no one cares. Unless you're a high-profile name, no one cares. So that's kind of what happened here. And they moved it to Monday, I think, just as a courtesy to give the Titans a day of preparation, which is fine by me.
Right.
They're going to have all their Zoom meetings. They're still going to watch the film, right? It's just they'll only get one day of actual, physical practice.
Right. And I guess the one last thing I wanted to bring up before we change subject is I've also seen a lot of fans bring up, well, why didn't the NFL do a bubble? Well, number one,
that's too hard.
They want to compare.
I promise you, it's too hard for this.
Exactly. Number one, they want to compare it to the NBA. And what the NBA did, they didn't take their entire league. They took a portion of the teams, and then it shrunk as the weeks went on.
And those teams are 15 players big.
Exactly.
Not 70.
Exactly.
With coaches.
Exactly. Now you tell me, where are you going to house 32 NFL teams and all of their players, all of their staff, and all personnel for what, 5 to 6 months? Where are you going to do that, number one? And number two, actually, there really is no number two. That's it. Where are you going to do that? A bubble wouldn't work. The NFL operation is way too big for that to even entertain that.
The other thing
it wouldn't work.
Let's just say you put the NFC and the AFC in a bubble. You're asking to put arguably 2,000 something people in one area. and that's not possible, right? There's not enough rooms anywhere unless you were to like buy out an entire neighborhood, and that's not happening. So, yeah, it's kind of whatever. We're gonna get the game on Monday. We have a Monday night doubleheader. I'm fine with that. That means I don't have to watch the shitty. Well, what's probably going to be a shitty Packers-Falcons game. That could be entertaining if the Falcons.
Well, no, I think it'll be a good game because I mean the Falcons are playing well in all their games until the final, 10 minutes.
Well, let's get to the Packers-Falcons when we get to the Packers-Falcons.
Yes.
Do you have any takeaways from this week?
One of my biggest takeaways is going to fall under our check down, first down, Hail Mary.
So you want to wait till then for that one?
Yeah, so I kind of want to get away for that for a minute. One of the big things that I wanted to bring up was the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the Seattle Seahawks are kind of everybody's darling in the NFL right now, and I believe it's mostly because of and reasonably so. He has 14 touchdown passes in 3 games. Unheard of. That's almost 5 touchdown passes a game. It's just insane what Russell Wilson is doing. He deserves all the credit he's getting. Now, that being said, what they are doing is not sustainable. I like the Seattle Seahawks. I think they are a good team, a coach team, but what they are doing is not sustainable. You realize that this defense is giving up 430 pass yards, just pass yards a game. That is historically, absolutely horrific pass defense.
Can I
also pass
for 1 second?
Go ahead.
I think you forget how awful the Chiefs' defense was Patrick Mahomes' MVP year, and they still went like 13-3.
And what did they do in the playoffs? Now, I'm not discrediting Seattle. Like I said,
I
believe they are a good team.
Rule. That's what happened in the playoffs. They got fucked by the overtime rule.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Play defense. If you can't play defense at least, middle of the pack, you're not gonna, make a deep playoff run. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well,
if this defense doesn't turn it around,
because those Chiefs made the AFC Championship. If you make the NFC Championship, I think you're fine. Like, let's be honest here. Only 2 teams can make the Super Bowl. Like, come on, man.
Well, I think that's fair. The Chiefs, yes, that defense was bad, but they weren't giving up 1,200 pass yards in the first 3 weeks of the football season. Bad. Now, I want to pump the brakes just 1 second. I'm still unsure of every single NFL team in the league right now. And now there's teams that are already buried. All the 0-3 teams are buried. The Jets are bad. Yes. But I don't think we're going to see the true definition of any of these teams that are still in it until at least week 5. Because you get through the first 4 weeks, that equivalates to your preseason. So you've worked out all the kinks and everything. So maybe the Seattle needs to work out some kinks defensively, and they'll turn it around. But 1,200 pass yards, over 1,200 pass yards in 3 weeks, that's absolutely terrible, and that's not sustainable. And maybe, yes, they still win 13 games. I don't quite see it. Wait until they start having to play NFC West teams because we all match up well against one another. And for the most part, outside maybe the Cowboys, Seattle probably had pretty favorable matchups thus far. My opinion is it's not super sustainable right now. That's just my opinion.
I have a feeling that Russell Wilson is going to tear up the league the whole time, and it won't matter. That's probably what's going to happen, I feel. This isn't a Drew Brees fires up the league and his defense allows 39 points a game kind of thing. It's not a Falcons score 30. By the way, the Falcons have averaged 31 points a game, and they're 0-3 because their defense has allowed, I think, 36 points a game. This isn't that type of situation for Seattle. I think the key difference between someone like Drew Brees in the past in 2014 with those defenses and Matt Ryan now is Matt Ryan doesn't really have a run game. Neither did Drew Brees back then. When Seattle has a lead, they have Chris Carson to run out the clock. He got hurt for the next 2 weeks because of that dirty play. But they had a recipe to be able to chew off clock time with the lead. And I think that's the major difference. And it does hide your defense.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's the whole point is to minimize your weaknesses, right? If running the ball minimizes your weaknesses when you're ahead 10-0, go ahead and do it. I don't know. That's just my take. Like I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still on board for the Cardinals winning it at 11-5, but the Seahawks really make me nervous for that because they look like one of the better teams. I don't think they're better than Green Bay. I'd still take Green Bay to beat them, but yeah, Seattle. I can't say anything bad about them right now because they're winning. You can talk about how their defense is allowing a lot of points. But who gives a fuck when your offense is scoring more? The Chiefs had the same mentality 3 years ago.
Now, I 100% agree with you. Winning masks deficiencies. And we saw that through the first 2 weeks with the Cardinals because, honestly, when you really look and break down the Cardinals' performances, they haven't played great. Their offense is
like
so
I tried saying
far.
That, but you wouldn't accept it before. Come on, man.
It's not that I wouldn't accept it. I agreed. The Cardinals are the most penalized team in football, and the majority of those penalties are coming offensively. And their running game, while they're still putting up almost 170 rush yards a game, it's all been Kyler on broken plays for the most part. So they got to get the run game turned around. Now, the wins mask deficiencies. And as long as you keep winning, yeah, sure. But the second they lose, now everybody's off the Cardinals bandwagon after they lost to the Lions this week, which I like personally. I don't want people on the Cardinals bandwagon because I hate it when they have expectations.
Don't worry, man. I feel you. Everybody fucking hates my team too. It's hilarious to me. We're not an AFC powerhouse, and I look at the next 3 games. And I'm like, oh, don't worry, we'll be 5-1.
Mm-hmm.
You guys will learn soon enough. We lost to the best team in the league. I'm not mad about it. So, do you have anything else on Seattle? Because I want to get to one of my takeaways.
Yeah, no, I got nothing else on Seattle. I think I've said my piece. We can disagree. I think they will soon be exposed.
I don't think we necessarily disagree. I'm just not on the side that I feel like Seattle is headed to be a 13-3 team right now, and you don't believe that. I think that's where we would disagree.
Fair enough.
Does that sound fair?
I mean, that's fair enough.
Yeah. Where do you think they'd be headed right now at 3-0?
Personally, with that defense and the way the NFC West is set up, 11-5.
All right.
So still really good.
I'll take it.
But that defense is going to hurt them down the stretch.
Okay, so I thought about putting this for my check down, first down, Hail Mary, but honestly, I don't think it even belongs there. I think this is just a takeaway from the last 3 weeks, but after week 3, I looked at it. Does anyone realize how good the Bucs are? They've had 2 quiet wins because they were against nobody teams, but when you watch how they beat them, it's what elite teams are supposed to do. Right? Forgetting the week 1 thing, because honestly, I don't think anybody expected the Buccaneers to win week 1. I don't even remember anybody choosing them to win week 1. I mean, I chose the Saints. I think you chose the Saints. I feel like everyone and their mother chose the Saints. But this team looks way better than what they look like. Did you know that Tom Brady has 752 yards passing and 6 touchdowns, and if he continues his pace, he will have about 4,000 yards and 35 touchdowns, and if he continues that means he would have 1 less touchdown than last year's MVP. Under a brand new offense, with an offense he's never been with, except for Gronkowski. Did you also know that this running game has 280 yards right now in the last 3 games, which means it's supporting Brady with at least 90 yards per game? Did you also know that this defense is holding opponents down to less than 20 points per game? And the Bucs offense is scoring 30 points per game?
To answer your questions, I didn't know.
It's only through 3 games. But does that not sound like a dominant team?
No, and I agree with what you're saying. And honestly, I didn't know a lot of that. So you're bringing it to my attention.
No. Oh, did you also know that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now have 12 sacks? They're averaging 4 sacks a game right now.
I mean, that makes sense. You got some.
This defense, by the way, is currently ranked as the number 2 rushing defense. They don't let anyone run. You can't run against them. You can throw against them. You can't run against them. which makes me really excited for the Packers-Buccaneers matchup, because part of the success of the Packers right now isn't just Aaron Rodgers rejuvenated, it's Aaron Jones. So if they shut down Aaron Jones, what do the Packers do? I mean, they could probably win it through the air, but do they? Right? I'm so intrigued by that matchup now in several weeks. I went from being on this Bucs team at 9-7 to suddenly after 3 weeks being they're the real deal, and it's perfect because the Saints are 1-2 and flopping right now. Like, this is the perfect time for the Buccaneers to keep a lead to get a lead, keep the lead, and never look back and win their division. I have a feeling I won't be surprised at this point. I would have been 3 weeks ago if I said this, but I won't be surprised if the Buccaneers are hosting a playoff game. And I am incredibly surprised that Brady, it only took him 2 games to start playing well. I thought it would take them 4. I thought this offense would not roll till week 4, week 5. They're doing just fine, even after a bad week 1.
So what you're all, because honestly, everything you're saying, I actually didn't really know or pay attention to. So that's actually really cool. And another thing I would like to add, as someone who was a fan of a Bruce Arians coach team, is his offense for first year quarterbacks that are in it not only throw a lot of picks, but just really struggle picking up that offense. Carson Palmer didn't start getting that offense until about week 12 of his first year in it. So Tom Brady, for the most part, seems to be picking up pretty well. And I mean, I just think that kind of goes to show the kind of football mind that he is to be able to pick it up and run with it. And I think Byron Leftwich has also helped with that process. So that's actually really impressive. And I'll hats off to Tom Brady for being able to pick up an offense that a lot of first-year quarterbacks in it seem to struggle with.
So there's one knack on this team. I'll give you one knack, okay? They can't convert on third down conversion. They are 19 of 40 on third down.
I think a big part of that is the lack of a solid... Well, like, you say they're rushing for 90 yards a game.
Yeah.
But they don't have a legitimate run threat. And now they got Leonard Fournette, but I think he had 5 carries in week 3.
Something like that.
And he had a great week 2, but is he not going to be a consistent staple of this offense?
Right now, their average per carry is 3.8, which isn't terrible. It's not good, but it's not terrible.
You get 3 of those and you get a first down, but the point is you need to be getting consistent gain. And especially on first and second. Like, that's the thing about the Cardinals offense right now, is they're getting consistent short gains on first and second down and then having really easy and manageable thirds. The Cardinals are the best third down team, last time I checked, offensively and defensively in the league right now, because they've been putting themselves in good position.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've gone back to the Cardinals podcast.
Yes, sir! Anyway. So that's because I haven't really watched a whole lot of the Buccaneers, but it sounds like from that point, I think that's something that they need to do more to not only help out Tom Brady, but just to help out this offense in general, is make it easier on first and second down. And they need a legitimate run threat. And Leonard Fournette to step up and be that.
I'm going to let you know I'm not stat baiting either, because this could be stat baiting. After I saw those stats, because I was like, how are the Buccaneers doing, right? Because I was like, I haven't really watched film on them. Like, I watched the first game. That was kind of it, right? And then I heard this piece that was like, did you watch the second game? And I was like, no. And like this announcer was like, you should watch. Like, he was telling his audience, you should watch the second game. So I was like, all right, I'm intrigued. So I watched the Panthers, Buccaneers. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, that was pretty impressive. They killed the Panthers, 31-17. Like, nice job. Like, they did exactly what the box score says. Cool. And then I was like, what was the Panthers? Whatever. And then they went to, play against the Broncos. And, of course, I'm like, they beat the Broncos, whatever. But I was like, you know what? Second week looked impressive. We'll see how they look beating the Broncos, right? Like, how does it look? Did it look sloppy or did it look good? And it looked good. So my point is that not only do the stats look good, they themselves look good. And I don't really care about the nameplates. I don't care about the Panthers. I don't care about the Broncos. They play the fucking Chargers next week. I don't care about the nameplates. You beat who's in front of you.
Right.
There's a high chance that the Patriots are 3-1 and the Saints are sitting at 2-2 or 1-3. I mean, this is a perfect storm for Tom Brady right now. And it's so weird. If the Buccaneers continue to actually play this well, I might just be cheering for them for two reasons. One, I fucking hate Tom Brady haters more than I ever despise Tom Brady. So I would love to see them cry more if he went to the Super Bowl. The second thing is both Bruce Arians and Tampa Bay deserve a Super Bowl. I think Bruce Arians has gotten robbed from not being able to get there a few times, whether it was when he was with the Colts, the Steelers, or the Cardinals. I think he finally deserves it. And
he did win one with the Steelers.
And Tampa Bay hasn't seen success in 5 ever. Not since John Gruden was there. And so, and it'd be perfect to have the Super Bowl, the home team get to host a Super Bowl, right? And it'd be very poetic that Tom Brady's the quarterback. There's a lot of NFL story and narrative there that me as an analyst loves. I love stories. So that's just me dreaming. But the thing is I'm dreaming because it actually is. The prologue has been written. Not even chapter 1 hasn't been written yet, but the prologue for a quarterback to host a Super Bowl in his home stadium has been written. The prologue has been written. We'll see how chapter 1 goes, if we can get to the climax and how the ending goes. But yeah, this Buccaneers team, I'm genuinely surprised at how efficient it is on offense so quickly, and I'm even more surprised that the defense is working. It's not like they're playing against scrubs, right? They're playing against Kamara and Gordon, right? They didn't have it, and they played against McCaffrey when McCaffrey was healthy. And they're allowing some of the fewest rushing yards. Okay, yeah, it's a pretty serious run defense. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Is one of my takeaways from this week is Bucs are 99% for real.
Fair enough.
You got another takeaway? I only got one more outside of that.
I have one. I guess you could say kind of small one. Nick Foles, the GOAT. Let's be honest. What he came in and did in that football game was extremely impressive. Now, I know it's the Falcons, and they're kind of just known for blowing their leads.
We're just going to make a meme out of it at this point.
Right. And it's... Did you know that in no time ever in NFL history has a team blown a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter twice in one season, and the Falcons did it in back-to-back weeks?
Hell yeah, man.
Isn't that unbelievable?
It's great is what it is. I love history. I feel bad for Dan Quinn and the Falcons fan base.
Right.
They got to be crying tears. And I feel bad for Matt Ryan because he's playing at a pretty elite level. And his elite level says they're 0-3. This is a great reminder to everyone out there that QB wins are team stats. They're not just quarterback stats, right?
Agreed.
They are team stats for a reason.
Now, anyway, going back to Nick Foles, let's talk about Mitchell Trubisky for just a second. I don't want to take it away from Nick Foles because he deserves the credit for this win. Trubisky, honestly, when you really look at it, he wasn't playing a terrible game. He threw one really bad, ugly pick. And it's funny because Trubisky led a big comeback week 1 as well. So it was kind of shocking to see that Trubisky did get pulled, but Nick Foles obviously came in and lit a fire under the Bears' ass. And it looks like the Bears players want to play for Nick Foles more than they want to play for Mitchell Trubisky. And it makes sense. I personally think that maybe while Nick Foles isn't great by any stretch of the imagination, but he's a proven commodity in the NFL and a Super Bowl MVP and champion. And that's pretty easy to back if you're an NFL player.
You know what Nick Foles is, and I've always thought this way about him?
Go ahead.
Your starting quarterback, okay, Carson Wentz, Trubisky, Gardner Minshew, whoever you want to talk about it. Your starting quarterback is your girlfriend that you're getting tired of. You love her, but you're getting tired of her. And suddenly, this new hot girl comes around. You have some great hot sex, great date night. And it's fantastic, right? Until you realize she's kind of a bitch. And then you miss your old girlfriend, right? That's Nick Foles. Nick Foles is great for 6 to 7 games. And then you get a full season of him and you're like, wow, bro, you suck. Why do we have you? That's why Jacksonville Jacksonville's in a different situation. That's why Jacksonville got rid of him, right? I mean, the Eagles knew what Nick Foles was. He never was successful in Kansas City. He sucked with the Rams. Like, Nick Foles has never been a successful full-season quarterback. If someone wants to counter me, they could say, well, he didn't start the first 2 games, so he'll be successful this year. And to your credit, maybe. I'll give you that. But I won't disagree in saying that maybe it's an upgrade. Maybe it's an upgrade, right?
Personally, to me, I think it's 100% an upgrade. I don't like Trubisky. I think he played decently to start the year. And honestly, I don't quite see why he got benched. But, I mean, I don't think he should have been starting in the first place. I don't think he should give up a 4th-round pick for a quarterback and then just not play him. It just doesn't make sense. So I think Nick Foles should have been starting in the first place. But him getting benched just goes to show how short of a leash he was really on and how quickly the Bears organization and coaching staff was ready to move on.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
But other than that, that's all I got.
So, I lied. I have 2 more takeaways, and one's going to be really quick. I'm going to do the quick one. Last week on this show, I talked about how if Josh Allen continues to impress me, I'm ready to say he's the franchise quarterback for the Bills. Yeah, it took 1 more week. This guy's the franchise quarterback for the Bills. This guy had a 28-3 lead, and while they quote-unquote blew it, in the final minute and a half when they're like, yo, dude, you haven't produced for us for the last 10 minutes. We need you to produce in this final drive. Can you do it? Guess who did it? Josh Allen did it. 5 touchdowns. He is the reason they scored 35 points. This guy's a baller. He is having a great season. I don't think this is a mistake either because he's improved every year of his career. I'm on board. This guy's the franchise quarterback for the Bills. They've got their quarterback. They've got a stellar defense, stellar coach. This is set up to be a successful team for the next 3 to 4 years. If they somehow get a stupid ass running back like Chiefs got, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, right? And this is no offense to Devin Singletary, but if they got like a game-changing running back to go with Devin Singletary, holy hell! Stellar defense, stellar offense. The Stephon Diggs trade I thought was dumb. It's been fantastic. It turns out Stephon Diggs just needed no offense to him. My guy Cousins, who I still like to defend to this day, even though I shouldn't be. It turns out Stephon Diggs just needed a better performing quarterback, and Josh Allen so happens to be that right now. So yeah, shout out to Josh Allen. He's a franchise guy. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I can't deny that he isn't at this point.
So no, I agree. I really do like Josh Allen and what he's doing so far this season. He's been extremely impressive. He's cut down on the mental errors and the little weird things that he does on the football field.
He did overthrow the ball occasionally this game, but I can excuse you overthrowing the ball if it's not an interception. I don't care.
Right, and it's gonna happen. Sometimes you're just gonna overthrow the football. I've been of the opinion for a very long time, that you cannot teach a quarterback how to be accurate, and you cannot improve accuracy. Now, Josh Allen's slowly on the way to maybe proving me wrong. I don't remember the exact stats off the top of my head today, but you sent me a graphic comparing the first 15 games and the last 15 games of his career.
Yeah.
The absolute stark difference. You would imagine like it's 2 different quarterbacks you're comparing.
So his first 15 games, he was 8-7. His touchdown to interception ratio was 13-18. So he threw 13 touchdowns, 18 picks, 55% completion rate. His last 15 games, 10-5. So the win record rate is different, but here's what's astounding. His touchdown ratio went from 13-18 to 27-4, and he's completing 6% more of his passes. Dude, that's amazing. That's literally a full season of games. And you might say to yourself, well, that's only 27 touchdowns. Okay, throw on one more game, maybe he's got 29. And you might say to yourself, that's only 29 touchdowns. Who gives a fuck? If he's not...
And then throw in his rushing threat as well.
Yeah, and he's a rushing threat. That doesn't count the amount of times he rushed in the ball. Like, I'm sold. I'm sold on Josh Allen. I can't believe I wasn't sold on him before. I know why I wasn't sold on him before, but I'm sold, dude. He could have. He could have a bad game next week, and I won't care because quarterbacks are allowed to have bad games.
I wouldn't say I'm like 1,000% sold quite yet. I still want to see a little bit more of what he's doing. I'll probably say if he keeps up what he's doing at the end of the year, I'll be 1,000% sold. But what he's doing, I can't deny, has been extremely impressive, and hats off to him for the stark improvement. And honestly, from his position, the quarterback position, I would say as of right now, you might get mad at me for this one, the way they're playing right now, that Josh Allen is the best quarterback in that draft. Now, I think Lamar is the best player that is a quarterback and the best athlete out of that quarterback group. But as of right now, I think that Josh Allen is the best quarterback in that draft class.
Dog, I ain't even agree with you right now because I could make a case for Josh Allen being better than Lamar Jackson. So I'm kind of with you there. Athlete, it still goes to Lamar, but if we're talking quarterback, like pure quarterback, oh yeah, and that's just because I know Lamar probably will never be like a pure quarterback. That's just not who he is. I feel like he's always going to be like Michael Vick. Even when Michael Vick was 30-something, he was still running around fools, and you got to come back player of the year in 2010, right? Like, you know.
And that's totally okay. That's totally okay if that's who Lamar is, because, I mean, he's still dynamic, and he more than gets the job done.
And if it works for 7 to 10 years, like Michael Vick did, now, to be fair, Michael Vick had a 2-year times of the league. We won't talk about why. We all know why. But if I get 7 to 10 years out of him and there comes a Super Bowl, that's worth it to me. Like, I can say goodbye to him after 8, 9 years. That's fine by me. So, moving on to, like, my final takeaway. This one might be a bit controversial, but the Browns and the Cowboys are 2-1 and 1-2 respectively. I'm going to tell you right now, they're both good football teams. They're not great. They're good. This Dallas Cowboys team is 1-2. They played the Rams and the Seahawks in 2 of their losses, and they had to make a miracle comeback to the Falcons. They play in a bad division where I believe they can go 8-8 or 9-7 and win their division, and I can't say they're going to make any playoff noise. But this is a good football team. I think that is hindered by coaching. This Cowboys offense has scored a lot of points. It turns out the defense is giving up a lot, and I think the defense is a bigger problem for the Cowboys. And that makes sense when you look at the offense, right? CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott. Like, this offense is loaded. So the fact they're scoring a ton of points is no surprise. I think they need to shore it up on defense. I don't think they will. And that's why I'm calling them a good football team who's going to go 9-7 and not make much noise. There's a difference between good and great. I will not call the Cowboys great probably at all this year, barring like a 10-0 run. And the same goes for the Browns. They've won their last 2 games more or less pretty handily. I mean, the box score was close for the Bengals-Browns game, but the Browns more or less had that game in the bag, right? And they beat the Washington football team 34-20. I watched some highlights of it. A lot of it was Haskins staring down receivers and the Browns secondary capitalizing on that with 3 interceptions. So there's that. But Baker did what he was supposed to do. He didn't actually falter. This is a game where I would have expected Baker to falter, and he did not. Kevin Stefanski is doing exactly what I wanted him to do. Focus on the running game with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and get the play action going for Baker, where he's going to succeed and move outside the pocket. This is going exactly like how I envisioned it. Week 1 was bad because they played Baltimore. But other than that, like, this is what I expected Kevin Stefanski to do. And it's resulting in what's going to be, I still believe, a 9-7 Browns team. So I expect the Browns to go 9-7, be good football teams, and then get washed out first round of the playoffs. That's my takeaways. I'm confident in that's the direction they're going.
Yeah, no, I can totally agree with everything you're saying. You said it, that might be slightly controversial, and I don't.
You don't think it's controversial?
No, I don't. I think it's totally fair. I think you just.
Yep. So, yeah, like I said, I had confidence in the Browns. Even when they went 0-1, I was like, let's give them a while. I like the Browns' offense is actually fun to watch this year. Like, if you sit down and watch a Browns game, it's actually fun to watch. And it was fun to watch 2 weeks ago against the Browns and Bengals, right? And it's because Kevin Stefanski's doing what he did in Minnesota. And I thought to myself, if he does what he did in Minnesota, they'll be just fine. They'll give the Browns a winning season, something for them to build on, and hopefully evolve from there. I kind of would hope that. I mean, I don't think Odell Beckham's going to turn into a number one at this point. But if they got a number one receiver, I think that would be dynamic and game changing. One that where Baker could just throw it up to, and he catches the 50-50 balls. So, like an Antonio Brown, Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas kind of guy. We'll see if the Browns are able to draft that. I doubt it, but so yeah. Ready for our first down, check down, Hail Mary?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm going to go first. I had you go first last time. I'm going to go first this time. Something I feel like everyone should agree with. I think we all need to slow our roll on some of these 3-0 teams. Okay? If you want to talk about the Chiefs and the Packers, go ahead. Talk about them as Super Bowl contenders. Fine by me. However, for teams like the Bears, for teams like the Titans, I understand they're excited. The fan bases are excited, right?
And they should be.
They should be, and I think Tannehill's playing well. The Bears are being well coached right now, but they remind me of teams who play well and falter later on. I think the Titans have a chance to be better than what they are, and they haven't reached that potential yet, and that's kind of my problem with them. The Bears feel really lucky in all 3 of their wins. And I know there's only some point. Like, if the Bears go 4-0, it looks ridiculous for me to say, well, they got lucky 4 times in a row. I don't anticipate the Titans or Bears to be world beaters. That was kind of my main point looking at these 3-0 teams, a couple of these 3-0 teams. So I hope that Bears and Titans fans aren't expecting the world, because it might come crashing down on them sooner than we think.
Yeah, going off of what you're saying, I completely agree. Like I've stated earlier in this podcast, I don't think we should really start giving any team, even the 3-0 teams, real expectations of what they may or may not be until at the very least, week 5.
My rule's always been week 8. That's usually
I'm saying, right. I agree with you there. I'm saying, like, we should, right. For this situation, I'm saying, like, we shouldn't even really take tendencies yet for what these teams are doing. We can start taking tendencies for these other teams after week 5, because I think that's the time of the preseason. The first 4 games, that's after the preseason will be over, and that's the time that offenses, that's what the preseason is for, is to work out those little kinks. So for all teams in the league right now, I'm not really taking what they put on paper and shown us for the last 3 weeks quite yet, because they haven't worked out all their kinks, and we don't 100% know what every single team's going to be at. Yes, we can kind of start to get an idea for a decent portion of the teams, but like for your example, the Bears, I'm not ready to buy that. They're being very well coached, and that defense is playing well, but they have kind of pulled their wins out of their ass, and a win's a win, no matter how you get it, but winning like that is not sustainable long term.
No, it's not, and that was kind of what I was getting at. So yeah, what about your first down?
So my first down...
sorry, your check down, my bad.
My check down. Adam Gase will be fired before or at week 6.
Bro, I'm personally, taking this Thursday night. What do you mean?
and like, I can totally see that being the case. And that's also kind of... Because I feel like even that might be just a little bit extreme. That's why I could have said that. But are you really going to buy that as my check down? Anyway, personally, it's not only because I want him to still be the coach when the Cardinals play him. It's organizationally, and I mean, it's New York. It's a cutthroat city, and it's a cutthroat sports town, so they totally fucking could fire him on Thursday. But personally, I don't think they quite will, just because of an organizational situation. And with the COVID situation and everything that's going on, are you really just going to try and move on right now? You're already out of it. I'd say it's probably before or after week.
You know what I will say is New York sports is literally in the worst condition they've been in years. The Giants, the Jets, the Mets all fucking suck. The Yankees are okay.
The Yankees are doing all right.
Yeah,
They won their playoff game today.
With 3 out of 4 teams, bro. Like, at least...
Well, they should try living in Arizona. I don't want to...
No, dude, this is a city, though. It's not even the state. It's the city. Yeah. Like, they have 2 teams, each in 2 sports. Like, I mean, Buffalo's doing well, so that's fine, right? But Buffalo might as well be Canada. I mean, technically, the Buffalo Bills are the only New York team. So...
True.
The Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, true.
I made a joke that they're the... Oh, I think you said true. I thought you said who. So, if you ask me about the whole, like, I agree. He'll be fired before week 6 or during week 6. Mm-hmm. If you ask me about the whole thing, because I've been a massive Sam Darnold before, I think he's busted, broken, shattered, whatever you want to call it. I keep saying Adam Gase is going to ruin his career. No, he has. He just has. Notice that Ryan Tannehill is way better after he left Adam Gase. I hope and pray Sam Darnold gets another shot elsewhere under a coach that will nurture him and take care of him. Because it happened to Tannehill, and look where Tannehill's at now. He's got a decent long-term contract, and he's on a winning football team. Mm-hmm. I hope, because Sam Darnold has the attributes. He makes some wow throws, but he makes some dumb mistakes, and I think he's continuously made those dumb mistakes and not improved at all. His last, from last year and the year before to this year, because he doesn't have a coach to help him. Look at Josh Allen. Josh Allen looked worse than Sam Darnold his freshman year, his rookie year, and now he looks amazing, right? Look what happens when you have a team who wants to play around you. Mm-hmm. That's not the case in the Jets, so I feel bad for Darnold. I really do.
Personally, I was never big on Darnold, even coming out of college. Being an ASU and LSU fan, I saw a decent bit of Darnold. I wasn't big on him in college, and he obviously hasn't. I'll give him some credit. He's had a couple decent NFL games, but NFL stands for not for long, man. If you can't win, that's exactly what it's
very true. It does stand for not for long. Check down?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, cool.
Or first down?
First down completion. Wow, I got this all fucked up, don't I? My first down completion. I don't buy the narrative that Baltimore is a team that can't win from behind. I'm almost there. I'm 95% there. There's 5% of me that doesn't believe it yet. Let me tell you why in my non-biased form. Because my bias says they can't win from behind, believe it or not. My bias as a fan says they can't win from behind. But I tried to approach it from an analytical perspective, and I said, okay, why should we not buy this narrative? So 3 of the 5 games that the Baltimore Ravens are 0-5 under Lamar Jackson, being when they're 10 points or more behind. 3 of them are to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a single fucking team that's made a comeback against the Chiefs? Name one. I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Name one. Seriously. That's right. You fucking can't. Because it hasn't happened. Right? And I understand higher expectations for Baltimore because Lamar Jackson was an MVP. If he's going to play at that level, he should be able to compete at that level. Right? But maybe the Chiefs are just that good. Maybe this is because they talked about how Mahomes, Lamar could be the next Tom Brady, Manning. Brady kicked Manning's ass more often than not. I think their record was 13-5 in Brady's favor. More often than not, Brady won those games. And if I have the Manning side, I don't care because Manning still won 2 Super Bowls. I'm okay with not having the dominant side, right? And I think the NFL should be okay with that. We hyped up Peyton Manning as one of the best ever, even though he couldn't beat Tom Brady. So I don't understand why we're saying these things about Lamar Jackson. And the other 2 games, let me talk about those. Because you're like, okay, what about the other 2 games? One of them I can give you a perfect excuse for. The other, I can't. They got beat. They couldn't get from behind. The first one was the Chargers. I'm sorry. They went from being behind 23-10, and then they made the game 20-23. The defense made a stop. They had 42 seconds left, and you're asking the rookie quarterback who hasn't developed his throwing arm to drive it down the field for a field goal in 40 seconds with no timeouts. It's not happening. The point being that being that they almost made the comeback, though, in a playoff game as a rookie. I'm not going to blame Lamar Jackson for that, right? He's a rookie. Probably we're just going to lose that game anyway, and you probably weren't going to make that comeback. I'll excuse him for it. The Titans game, however, no fucking excuse. You got me there. But you've only got me on one game. Being dead serious. It says 0-5. In my opinion, you've really only got them on one game. That's why I don't buy the narrative they can't win from behind you. I'm 95% there. Let's say they fall behind the Cowboys or the Buccaneers and they lose, then I'll buy it. But they fell behind to the Seahawks last year and they beat the Seahawks. They fell behind to the 49ers last year and they beat the 49ers. Now, it wasn't 10 points. It was a touchdown. But the point is they still did that. So I don't buy the narrative just yet.
Real quick, the reason I think people that narrative exists is because they think because the Ravens are a run-first team. Can you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I think anybody.
That's what they are.
Crazy to not say that.
Right. They are a rushing football team, and I think when people see rushing football teams, they look at a team that when they get behind, they have to abandon their greatest strength, and then Lamar Jackson has to throw to win.
But
and
think
now
of how many dimes were dropped that night, though.
Right. And I do believe Lamar Jackson, in certain situations, has the ability to win with his arm. But and I'm going to get to that here in a minute, but I still think Lamar has a long way to go.
Oh, I agree. Patrick Mahomes is infinitely better. If anything, if you watch the progress of the 3 Chiefs games, right? The very first game, Lamar got us ahead 27-24. I was so excited thinking we were going to beat the Chiefs. Then it was 27-27 because Mahomes did that stupid-ass no-look pass that's always on repeat. And they won in overtime. Second time around, Chiefs got ahead. Ravens came back from 30-13 to 28-33. They made a comeback. They just didn't finish, right?
Right.
But it was very clear that Mahomes had gotten a little bit better than Lamar. And then this third game, they went from being dead even in talent the first game to Mahomes is just far superior to Jackson. It is very obvious that you can talk about Lamar versus Mahomes all you want, but it's very obvious that Mahomes is, I don't want to say light years, but at least a few miles ahead.
He's just on he's just on
another level than everyone else. What were you going to say about Jackson though?
Well, it's actually more in my first down, so it could wait unless you're.
Yeah, sure. We can go to your first down completion. I'm done. I was just saying I don't buy the narrative.
All right. So my first down, I'm going to hurt our feelings pretty hard.
I reject your reality and submit my own.
No, I'm going to hurt your fucking feelings.
Sure.
Maybe not. But I know I'm about to hurt my fucking feelings. So anyway, Lamar, and more specifically Kyler, are not elite quarterbacks yet.
It doesn't hurt.
Now.
No, that's fair. That's fair. This season, that's fair. If you would have asked me last year, I would have called you fucking retarded. But
no,
this year, I'm with you.
Now, with that being said, they're supreme athletes. There is nobody faster, more shifty, more impressive, more exciting than Kyler and Lamar at the quarterback position in the NFL right now. I will fight you on that. There's no one more athletic or exciting than those two guys.
I almost agree with you. Almost.
Who would you put ahead of them?
Athletically, I agree. Excitement-wise, dude, I still... My favorite person to watch is still Patrick Mahomes for exciting-wise. He rips everyone apart. He rips everyone apart, no matter who it is. I went into last night's game thinking, Mahomes... He almost lost to the Chargers. Didn't look that good. The Ravens defense should do pretty well. No, he fucking smacked them. Hardcore. It wasn't even close. So, it's Mahomes for me. Like I said, I put it in a tweet on Monday night. As a Ravens fan, I was super bummed. But as a football fan, I couldn't help but be amazed at how well Mahomes played, and I smiled when he did the 1, 2, 3, 4 count. Usually a Ravens fan would be super salty about that. I smiled at that. I'm like, I see you. You knew when he was announced number 4, he put the tweet that said, writing notes. And he decided that, hey, I'm outperforming what my peers considered the number 1 player. And he looked at the camera, counted to 4, and then he shrugged while smiling. That's swagger. I love it. There's nothing more exciting than that to me.
Okay, and that's fair. Now back to the topic at hand, that being Kyler and Lamar. They have a long way to go as passers. And now, individually, when it comes to games, they've had some excellent games throwing the football. But Kyler stares down receivers a lot. A lot. He locks on one guy, and if it's not there, it's not that he takes off. He either forces the ball, or he will take off. He doesn't do it quite as much as the narrative seems to be that, it's a running quarterback, it's one read and take off. Because Kyler doesn't do that, but he tends to force the ball to the first guy in the hot read a lot. And that was 2 of his picks this last weekend. And now, I know this might seem like an overreaction because these guys are both coming off of bad games. And good quarterbacks, great quarterbacks, are allowed to have bad games. It happens. It happens sometimes. Tom Brady's had bad games. All the great quarterbacks have bad games. They're not going to always be perfect. But we can't put them among the elite quarterback category until they improve as passer.
I mean, if you ask me, there's only 2 elite quarterbacks in the game right now, and that's Wilson and Mahomes. I don't think I would consider anyone else elite right now. And those 2, and that's because those 2 are just in another world. They're not even in the same stratosphere as everyone else. They're out on the edge of the galaxy.
And this is nothing against Kyler and Lamar, because I love Kyler.
Oh, so do I.
He's my quarterback, and I love Lamar. Coming into Lamar's draft, I told you Lamar is my favorite quarterback in the draft, and you just got a fucking steal. You got the best quarterback in the draft.
And so much that night.
And guessed what? I was right. He might not be the best quarterback because I mentioned earlier how I think maybe Josh Allen at the moment right now has the edge for the specific quarterback perspective. But he out of all the quarterbacks that were taken in that draft, Lamar has, I believe, the highest ceiling and is the best overall player out of all those quarterbacks. And I was 100% fucking right. And Kyler, he's gonna get better.
Oh yeah.
He's had 19 career starts. It's a little bit worrying that he's thrown 5 picks through the first 3 games. It is a little bit worrying. Now, 2 of them...
3 of them were in one game, though, so...
Right. 3 of them were in one game, and 2 of them were kind of, maybe not entirely his fault. Still, though, you can't be doing that. You can't throw 3 in one game and expect to win. When you throw 3 picks in a game, and you don't get any of those back from your defense, you have a 5% chance of winning the game. So they are very great athletes, and they are very good quarterbacks. But they have such a long way to go. And I love Kyler, and I wanted to buy into the hype of, he's a top 5 quarterback. And because there's people who hold that opinion. And I've been apprehensive to that. And I started to buy into it at the end of last year. I was like, okay, how many quarterbacks can I name that are better than Kyler? And now after this game, and so far, the Cardinals have kind of struggled a bit offensively. They are averaging still like 450 yards a game. So when you look at the individual statistics, the Cardinals' offense hasn't been bad, and they are a great third down team. But when you watch them in the eye test, they look like shit. And the Cardinals' passing game is ranked 28th in the league right now. That's not what you expect from the air raid. It's not what you expect from Kyler. It's not what you expect from a receiving core that has DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk, Andy Isabella, Dan Arnold in, So it's still early. It's been 3 games, but even then, Kyler and Lamar need more time, and they aren't elite quarterbacks yet.
I'm totally fine with that.
It still hurts my fuck.
I forget, was this your first down completion or your Hail Mary?
This was my first.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'm going to go for my Hail Mary. Both New York City teams are going to have new starting quarterbacks next year. Both of them. Dead serious.
Okay. That's totally reasonable. Definitely, honestly, I could see the Giants being there because I think Daniel Jones, he has flashes. Both of these quarterbacks has flashes, and I think Daniel Jones a bit more.
So let me provide some perspective to Daniel Jones this season so far. So his stats are bad, but I'm not talking about stats for a second. But his stats are 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in 3 games. Yikes. He's had a little bad luck with his, key players getting injured. So, I've always said when you want to build a team around a quarterback, you need to help your rookie, right? And Daniel Jones was getting the help and not so much anymore. Let me be fair to him. His first 3 games, the Steelers defense, the Bears defense, the 49ers defense. Not exactly a fun start for him, right? But the thing is, and he also plays the Rams defense this week.
It's not getting easier. I picked up the Rams defense. I picked up the Rams defense in fantasy because I have the Patriots and I don't want to face the Chiefs. I don't feel like having negative points on my defense. So, and Daniel Jones is always good for a few turnovers. So
here's my point. I think Sam Darnold's on the way out because Adam Gase is going to be on the way out, and they're going to be so low that the Jets are probably going to draft a quarterback. We could talk Trevor Lawrence all we want, but all we ever do is talk about a quarterback in their sophomore year who's going to be the number 1 pick, and then they're never the number 1 pick. So what the hell ever. Who knows if it's Trevor Lawrence? Maybe someone else steps up. College football is just starting up again. It's not going to be an Oklahoma quarterback because we know that Spencer Rattler's not going to be in the draft, and he threw an interception to end the game. It was lovely. But the reason
I know he's an Arizona guy, but I hate him.
I think Daniel Jones is more shocking than Darnold, and here's why. It means he's only in the league for 2 years, but he has played so poorly in these first 3 games, despite facing some pretty horrendous, terrifying defenses, I should say. Not horrendous, terrifying. I can't trust Daniel Jones. I've tried to defend him and provide some perspective to those who don't like him, but at this point, I can't watch a guy just constantly give the ball away and not reward his team and make up for it, because he doesn't do that. This giant and Joe Judge doesn't need to stick around with Daniel Jones because it's not his quarterback. So that's why I'm saying that there is no reason for Daniel Jones to stick around unless he performs amazingly. And my hot take is saying that Daniel Jones will not improve and he will be replaced next year. Week 1 of 2020-2021, we'll have a new quarterback for the Jets in MetLife and a new quarterback for the Giants in MetLife. Book it.
I mean, I'm totally there with you. You know how I feel.
I know how you feel about Daniel Jones, so maybe it's not as surprising to you. But for other people, they can be like, what do you mean? It's only his second year. Well, it's a pretty terrible second year so far. You?
So, my touchdown or Hail Mary, I believe we might have already even said this so far on one of this segment. But even if then, it needs to be said again. Sorry, it's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not the best quarterback in the league. It's fucking Russell Wilson.
We've talked about this before. I
know.
Agree with you. I'm not sure if it's the biggest hot take in the world, but some people might have recency bias from Monday.
Now coming into this season, if people heard me say Russell Wilson is the best quarterback in the NFL, they'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Have you heard of Patrick Mahomes?" I was saying that. I know, and so was I. Russell Wilson is so incredibly underrated and has not received
he deserved MVP last year.
Exactly. He is not. Not only did he not get any MVP votes last year, he has not received a single MVP vote in his entire career thus far.
Welcome
And
to
he's
the
been
next
lighting
Breeze.
he's been lighting it up since his rookie year. He was dropping 50-point games his rookie year.
Okay, so
Russell Wilson.
Hold on, real quickly. I'm gonna slow you down for 1 second. I love Russell Wilson, but he had some really bad games his rookie year. He was very much carried by a Legion of Boom and Marshawn.
Yes, obviously.
He was a game
but
manager.
he was still a quarterback drafted in the 3rd round.
Oh yeah.
Who led, I believe, his team to a 10-6 record, a division title. And again, I believe there was 2 50-point games that he led.
Let me look up his rookie season real quickly while you're talking.
Russell Wilson is the best quarterback.
Oh,
you can
I'm
fight
totally
me all
with
you
you.
want. I know probably anybody who's listening is totally on board the Patrick Mahomes train, and I totally understand, and I totally get it. And in a way, I see your argument, because Patrick Mahomes is just insane. But Russell Wilson's been doing it without elite targets and elite talent around him for quite a long time. Yes, he had a good defense around him, but now he's starting to get decent weapons at the receiver position. Not Jermaine Kearse. Now he's got a guy like DK Metcalf who can throw it. He can throw it downfield to, and he's going to go get it on that 50-50 ball. He got a guy like Tyler Lockett, who's going to catch anything and everything underneath. He's got great running back. He's got. I was going to say he has a good offensive line, but he really doesn't. But that just goes to show you why he's even fucking better, because he has no offensive line. He isn't quite as athletic as he was, and he's sure as hell not that fast.
So they had,
and he still is insane.
They had 2 games where they dropped 50 points, and one is memorable to you because it was 58-0 for the Cardinals.
It was the Cardinals.
Yep. So here's the thing, though. Russell Wilson only threw for 203 yards. The other 293 were from rushing. 200. That was the game where Marshawn Lynch had over 200, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've deleted that game a lot.
And then the following week, Russell Wilson only had 190 yards and 196. The other 270 was from rushing. So as I was saying, the Legion of Boom and the rush in Marshawn Lynch
now
very much carried Russell Wilson. He only had, let's see, let me look real quickly. His first 3 games were all only 130 yards or less. His 4th game was 140. He reached 212 game 5, 280 game 6, back to 100, 230, back to 100, 100, 200, 200, 200, 100. He never had a game over 300 until he got to the playoffs where it was 368, but they lost that game 28-30. So my big point being here is that Russell Wilson was very much a game manager his rookie year, and it wasn't really, in my opinion, until about his 3rd or 4th year where any dynamic QB really turns it on their 3rd or 4th year, and then by the time their 6th year comes around, they are elite and they are the veteran status. I think it was 2 years ago when I realized Russell Wilson was becoming the next, I don't want to say the next Aaron Rodgers, that's so cliche, but the next great quarterback 2 years ago, because he was carrying a team to something far superior than what it should have been. Like you talked about a couple of years ago how we thought the Seahawks would go 7-9. Nope, because Russell Wilson was the quarterback. He has evolved to that. But it took him a while, and I think the Seahawks did what they were supposed to do. They gave a rookie quarterback, a 3rd round specifically, a good running back, a great defense. It allowed him to learn the game, and by the time the Legion of Boone and Marshawn Lynch went away, Russell Wilson had grown up enough to carry the team by himself. I think that's how you evaluate his career so far.
I think that's fair. Personally, I think even if he managed the game, if he's still the quarterback out of an offense in his rookie year dropping, that's still unheard of either way. So I'm still going to give him some credit for it. Either way, my main point, he's the best quarterback in the league. Not Mahomes, not Lamar. Russell Wilson is very special, and I don't think he gets enough
I agree.
respect
he
for what he's
get enough credit. I'll absolutely agree with you there. Alrighty, let's get to our picks for Week 4. So it is currently 1:09 into the show. So we've got exactly 20, maybe 31 minutes to get through these picks. I'm gonna keep my picks real quick though, because I know exactly what I want to say about these teams and move on. And I'm gonna keep it out. Probably
real quick though. Do you want to bring up our record from last week?
Oh,
our picks from.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm also angry you brought it up because I left our stat sheet at school where I made it. Damn it. We can bring up our records on week 4. We've been keeping tally about how our predictions have been going. We'll update you post week 4. My bad. Flame me. At me on Twitter. I suck. Anyways, so I watch every football game. I will begrudgingly watch this game tomorrow. It's the Denver Broncos and the Jets. They're both 0-3. One's injury riddled. One's not. And yet I'm picking the injury riddled team because it's not coached by Adam Gase. I said this last week, and I'm saying it again. I'm picking the injury riddled team to beat the Jets 2 weeks in a row. Hot damn.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the Broncos are no 49ers. But I can't sit here and argue the Broncos are worse than the Jets, especially when whoever's at quarterback is going to be helped by Melvin Gordon, Jerry Jeudy, what's his name? Noah Fant, and the weapons that they have. It's enough for this game to be like a 13-7 shit show that the Broncos win. That's me.
For me, honestly, I know the Jets are just god-awful. They really are. They're the worst team. But I don't even remember the name of the quarterback who's starting for the Broncos this week. I know it's not Jeff Driscoll. I know he's making his first career start. They're missing everybody else on that team.
I want to say it's Brett Ripien, I think is his name.
Yes, that is it. It's Brett Ripien. So he's a rookie quarterback making his first NFL start on Thursday Night Football. I know that the Jets are bad, and I know that Adam Gase is the coach, but I'm going to give the slightly more experienced team and more healthy team the edge here, and I'm probably going to go Jets. It's probably going to be a shit show game. I'm going to go Jets.
All right, cool. Jets. He's got Jets. I got Broncos. Moving on. This one's short too. Baltimore's angry very clearly, and Washington is going to be a victim of a murder. Ravens by like 30 against this Washington team, especially if Haskins is going to continue to stare down his receivers. Peters and Humphrey are going to eat him alive.
Mm-hmm.
I would anticipate another 3 to 4 interception performance. I wouldn't even call it performance by Haskins, but yeah, you can't do that shit against Peters and Humphreys. They're going to crush Washington. Unfortunately, they're the team that has to play against still what you would consider an AFC Superhouse after losing.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
After losing to another AFC Superhouse. Usually, when teams lose, a huge game, the best ones usually bounce back and in a big way. That's going to happen here.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I don't. There's not a snowball's chance in hell watching this game. One thing that I think everybody likes to give Washington credit for is they have a very good front seven. Yes, I agree, but they got absolutely abused by Kyler Murray when they played. So I think facing another rushing quarterback, Lamar's just going to be able to run all over him. Lamar will probably have 150 rush yards this game, and they're going to get Ravens by 4 possessions.
Ravens by 4 possessions. Shit, that's more than what I said.
Yeah.
Next one is Chargers-Buccaneers. Interesting game, but I already talked about how I believe in the Buccaneers, so I'm picking the Buccaneers here. I think Tom Brady will take advantage of the Chargers' defense. I think they're going to stop the rushing game. Basically, the Buccaneers are going to dare Justin Herbert to win the game. And when you're daring Justin Herbert to win the game, you're saying, hey, outperform Tom Brady. Nah. Buccaneers.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Bucks as well. Again, Justin Herbert's making a second career start. A lot of innings. They got good weapons. The Chargers are a better team than a lot of people. But for me, I just think the Bucks have the they have an offense that is starting to find themselves. Instead of starting.
All right. Yeah. Totally with you. So we both got the Bucks here. You want to take it away with Seahawks Dolphins?
Yeah. Hawks. So I do want to give some credit to the Dolphins. They are being competitive, just like last year. They were a competitive, decent football team. Only won, I believe, 5 games, but they were competitive, and they play for Brian Flores. In the grand scheme, I'm still going to pick Seattle this game just because it's Russell Wilson going. But I'm gonna give some credit to the Dolphins and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, as long as decent Ryan Fitzpatrick shows up, it should actually, I think, be a fairly competitive game. That Seattle defense, like I stated earlier, is an absolute liability. And Ryan Fitzpatrick has shown the ability throughout his career to take advantage of bad defense and have really big passing games. I feel like that could be a potential that could potentially happen in this game. And in addition to that, a guy that I really, really like on this Dolphins team is Myles Garrett. They're starting right. He's been very, very impressive through the first 3 weeks of the season. He's carried that rushing offense. I tried so hard to get him in fantasy. It's like none of my waivers are falling. But I do believe this will be a closer game than I believe people see it as on paper. But I'm still going to take.
Yeah, until Russell Wilson has a bad game, I'm probably picking Seattle to win all their games. That's me. I envision this to be like pretty much like the Chiefs were 2 years ago when Mahomes threw for 50 touchdowns. Like, it was just stupid to pick against them. Now, they did lose a couple, but, I mean, who did they lose to? They lost to Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. They did lose that game. It was a Sunday night game. Kind of funny. They lost to the Chargers. If you remember, the Chargers went for it. They went for a 2-point conversion with 0 seconds left on the clock. So basically the Chargers said, fuck overtime. It's do or die, and they got it. And if you remember, I think it was Mike Williams was wide fucking open that game. Do you remember that? Oh, he may not be with us just for a second. That's okay.
Oh, do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, that's weird. But yeah, I said yeah, I agree.
Sorry, I didn't hear that part. So, yeah. So, that's where I see the Seattle team going. They're very much offensive superpower. Not so much on the defense. So until the offense falters, yeah, and I don't see them faltering against the Dolphins. So yeah, Seahawks. Rough. This one's rough. The Vikings and the Texans. We had to get here eventually. We talked last week about how both these teams could be potentially 0-3 going in. Well, here we are. They're 0-3. Mm-hmm. One of them is guaranteed pretty much not to make the playoffs after this week. Who's not making? You have to pick who's not making the playoffs, basically.
Neither of them are making the playoffs.
I mean, I kind of agree with you there in that case. But at the same time, this is rough. I feel like Zimmer's still a good coach. I think the Vikings just lost too much power, and because they lost too much power, defensive power, I should say, they got kind of screwed. And not having Stephon Diggs looks like it's having a bit of an effect. Whereas the Texans got fucked by the schedule.
They really did.
If you ask me, I think the Texans are more in line to win this game than the Vikings. Because I don't know what the solution is on defense, and you're playing against Deshaun Watson. You're asking Kirk Cousins to perform better than Deshaun Watson. I don't think that's going to happen either. I mean, Kirk Cousins has had a better performance last game against the Titans, but you know what? this Vikings defense is constantly allowing too many points.
Mm-hmm.
They might just allow too many points against the Texans as well. I'm going Houston here.
Yeah, for me, going back to the playoff proposition, there's not a chance in hell that either of these teams make the playoffs. It's nearly impossible. If you fall to 0-2, you make the playoffs, let alone 0-3. Their seasons are over. Now it's all about pride. As of right now, I'm going to give the Texans the benefit of the doubt because they have played the much more difficult schedule. That being said, I'm not confident in their ability to actually play a decent game because their personnel they have decent personnel. It's just they don't seem to be putting it together, and I think that falls on coaching. And it's not that I think Bill O'Brien's a bad coach because he's led this team to the playoffs multiple years now. But the Vikings, on the other hand, are just a mess, quite frankly. I'm not sure what happened to them. It's not like they lost a lot of star power. It's not like they're missing a ton of great players. I don't know. I just don't see them really putting it together this week, and I'll probably keep picking against them until they do win. So it's going to be Texans for me.
Alrighty, cool. So the next one's the Saints and the Lions. We might have a disagreement here. I don't know. My advice to the Saints, do not underestimate the Lions going in. My advice to the Lions, don't let Kamara run you over. Those are the two things that each of these teams got to do. The Saints cannot underestimate the Lions, and the Lions cannot let Kamara run them over. It's so hard to trust Matt Patricia right now. I mean, they were cooking against the Bears, and then they lost pretty poorly to the Packers, but that's the Packers. And then, I'm not going to lie, Matt Stafford looked pretty good last weekend. I'm not going to lie. We can blame Kyler all we want for his 3 interceptions, but Matt Stafford did his job. And the Cardinals' defense couldn't get off the field because Matt Stafford was doing his job.
I don't think it was
this Lions team. I think could potentially beat the Raiders, and the Raiders just beat the Saints. Now that's a lot of like correlation, and correlation can be really dumb because I think there was a correlation 2 years ago, or maybe it was 2 years ago when the Patriots won the Super Bowl against the Rams, and someone was like, someone beat this team, and they beat this team, and they beat the Patriots, and they beat this. Dolphins are the best team. They should have won the Super Bowl or some shit, right? So correlation can be really dumb. I'm picking an upset here. I think the Lions are going to win this game, and I'm not trying to make the Saints have a hole at 1-3. I do firmly believe though, and I know Michael Thomas is practicing and he's supposed to come back. Who knows if he comes back though, and he could totally be in a limited fashion as well. I might change my pick for my writing picks because I always write them Saturday night / Sunday morning when I have the earliest injury news. But as long as Michael Thomas is not in this game, I think the Lions have the personnel to just stop Kamara and let Matt Stafford do his thing and win the game. It's an upset pick. It's kind of crazy, but it's what I'm going with.
See, I wouldn't even put it as crazy because one thing that really frustrated me about Cardinals fans last week was they seemed to be completely overlooking the Lions in the fact that they are 3-0-1 against us in the last 4 matchups. The Lions are not a bad team. They really, really aren't. But the way I view the Lions is the coaching is letting them down. It flat out is. But they have a decent squad. They have the pieces. They were 1 dropped pass away from being 1-1. Yeah. And they were 1 drop pass away from being 1-1 last week. So the fact that everybody was overlooking them, to me, was super frustrating. This team has been competitive and has had multi-possession leads in all of their games. Well, they didn't last week. But in the 2 previous games, they had multi-possession leads. And the coaching failed them, and they blew them. And now, that's not just to say it's on coaching. If you're blowing multi-possession leads, that's going to be on the players as well. But I'm going to put most of that on coaching. So, the Lions are much better than they've been given credit for. That being said, Kamara is absolutely carrying the Saints, and it's not that the Saints are a bad team, but they are very much underperforming right now, and it makes me think, hey, maybe they're missing the preseason. Maybe Drew Brees needed a little bit more time to really warm up, and maybe that's why he's got a bit of a dead arm right now. He just needed more time to get ready, and he didn't get that time. That being said, I don't like the way the Saints are playing right now, especially without Michael Thomas. I think they are really, really missing Michael Thomas right now. I really think that's holding back their offense. I think that's holding back their ability to be dynamic. Because when you look at that offense right now, it's Kamara or nothing. That's what it is. And you're not going to win a game. You're not going to win many games in the NFL like that if you're just going to rely on your running back in every facet of the game to try and win it for you. You're just not. That being said, the coaching advantage I definitely give the Saints. I'm going to go Saints in this one.
All right. Totally fair.
So,
like I said, I feel like I went for an upset pick. So, Alrighty, next one. Browns Cowboys. Spicy. It's kind of weird. I didn't actually peg this as a game to watch when I looked at the schedule back in April, and now I kind of love this matchup. This is kind of a prove it grounds, right? If the Browns win, they're 3-1, and the Cowboys are 1-3, or if the Cowboys win, they're 2-2, and the Browns are 2-2. Oh, wait a second. Let me look. Oh no. Pardue. Oh no.
What's that? What?
I have the NFC East. I have their number one team being 1-3.
Oh, jeez.
Dude, I have all the NFC East teams losing this week because I'm picking the Browns. That's a spoiler. But, like, oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no.
I mean, like I've said multiple times now, the NFC East is a fucking shit show.
Oh, it is. It's so bad. But, like, let me talk about the Browns-Cowboys here in the matchup. I think the Cowboys have the offense to win a shootout. I think the Browns have the defense to not make this a shootout, and Kevin Stefanski's game plan is to run the ball, right? So I think the Browns get an early lead, and they run the clock out. Make Baker Mayfield throw for 250 yards and a touchdown, maybe 2 touchdowns. The Browns win by making sure Baker Mayfield is a glorified game manager. I don't want to put Baker Mayfield in that route, but honestly, that's where he needs to be at in his career. Let him actually have a real coach in his first year under this coach. Just let him be a game manager. Let Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb take it over. Throw it to Landry and Odell when you need to. Baker can make a wow throw here and there when you need to, right? And let the defense take care of the rest. And then you can grow Baker Mayfield from there. Let this be his quote-unquote rookie year. I think that's fine. I like where this Browns team is going. They are doing exactly what I envisioned when Kevin Stefanski was announced as the hire. There's a reason I liked this hire. And as for the Cowboys, dude, can you not allow your opponent to score 30-plus points? Come on. You've got a quarterback who, I'm going to be fair to Dak Prescott. He's balling right now. He's doing really well. He's playing way better than I think he has the last 3 years. 4 years, I should say. This is arguably Dak Prescott's best year yet, and it's being wasted by a defense who can't prevent anything. So, I kind of anticipate more of the same for Dallas here. I definitely think if this is a shootout, the Cowboys win it, but I don't anticipate this game to be a shootout, so I got the Browns winning it.
You know, this one's tough for me, and you brought up the point of how Baker Mayfield needs to be a glorified game manager, and I wanted to say that before you did, so thanks for cutting me off. But, well, you didn't cut me off, but, like, thanks for stealing my point. Not like you knew. But that's what it's got to be, and you're completely right, because Baker Mayfield's had so much change and so many different coaches and so many different systems so far in his career. He just needs some time to be not necessarily carried. Right. He needs some time to learn an offense and not necessarily be carried, but not have all the expectation of, hey, you need to carry this team and you need to carry this offense. Because I don't think he's ready for that. Now, I think you're right. If this game's a shootout, which I also don't expect it to be, the Cowboys, I believe, definitely win the game. I just think their defense is awful. I'm not a super huge fan of the Browns defense either. But if the Browns are able to control the ball and control the game and get an early lead, there is no way in hell I trust the Cowboys defense to stop the two-headed freak, crazy, insane monster that is Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Good luck. Sorry, Cowboys and Cowboys fans. You probably still win your division, but you're going to be 1-3 after this weekend. I agree.
Yeah, it's kind of a big yikes. So, and if they're 2-2, like, good for them. But I definitely am picking the Browns here. So next one is Bengals and Jaguars. So Gardner Minshew got a piece of humble pie. That's fine. Joe Burrow didn't win the game. Dude, we tied. Oh, my goodness. I picked the Bengals to win it, and they didn't win. I'm very upset. I was really wanting them to win that game, just to say, I got the upset call. Eagles suck. But, I mean, they do suck, but we'll get to that later. Which Gardner Minshew shows up? That's kind of the question, Do the Gardner Minshew that played the first 2 weeks show up? Or Gardner Minshew a week 3 show up? Because Joe Burrow going to show up. And I got this really weird voice for it. So I like Joe Burrow. I think every year there's a team that I like, and I pick them more than I should. And I get a lot of wrong predictions because of it. Last year it was the Cardinals. They really fucked me over last year. I picked them 9 times. I picked them 9 times to win, and they won 5 times. That might be the Bengals for me this year. Because they're not a good team. I know that. But Joe Burrow's so enticing. And when he's playing bad teams, I feel like he should win. So I'm going to pick the Bengals. They got to win a game. They're going to win this one. They got it. They got it. They got it this week. I'm a believer. They got it.
I love Joe Burrow. And I'm now coming off because previously I'm not quite ready to be the believer of the Joe Burrow at the NFL level quite yet. I'm there. And obviously he's still a rookie, so he still needs time, but he has the tools and the chance to succeed at this level. I really love Joe Burrow as an LSU fan.
What Joe Burrow reminds me of?
What's that?
He reminds me of in his prime Joe Flacco or a Tony Romo. A guy who's playing above average, but certainly once the team is built around him, he will take you far. Now, Joe Flacco only won 1 Super Bowl, right? But Joe Flacco was pretty competitive in the playoffs, and I feel like Joe Burrow can take that extra step. Tony Romo was pretty good, too. It's just unfortunate that his career is defined by a missed snap. A snap that he wasn't even supposed to be in for in the first place. Right? So, but I think that's a good compliment to him. I think he'll be better than Joe Flacco. That's not hard to do. Joe Flacco, I think, if I remember correctly, only had like 1 4,000-yard season. Joe Flacco was consistently like 3,900 yards. He was carried by a good defense and a good running game, and Joe Flacco just turned it on in the playoffs. That's pretty much Joe Flacco's story throughout his career. And Tony Romo was always just a solid quarterback, and we had black contacts on because he was the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, and we did not see the light until after he left. I think Joe Burrow kind of belongs in that area. Above average quarterback who's going to win games down the future.
I agree. So for my pick in this game, it's funny. My fiance, Alexis, both of her NFL boyfriends are playing this game because she loves Garner and she loves Joe Burrow. So after this, I'm going to walk up to her and be like, so who are you picking between the two? So I'll let you know what she says.
She's going to pick Gardner. I know she's going to pick Gardner. I just know.
I don't. I feel like you're probably right.
I don't
but
understand
I think it'll be
it.
close.
She thinks he's so good looking, and I love Gardner, but he's just ugly. I think he's ugly.
She just likes facial hair, and I'm sorry that I disappoint her with my 4 whiskers. But anyway, I'm going to go Jags this game. Partially because I think it's a close pick between these two teams, and also I want some differences between our picks just so we can kind of butt heads by chance. But I think a little bit more experience in the coaching, a little bit more experience from Gardner will be the difference in the game.
All right, next one.
Sorry, Joey B. Your first one has to wait.
All right, next one is Colts-Bears. I'm short on this one. I'm not sold on the Bears, even with Nick Foles being the quarterback. And I like what the Colts have done the last 2 weeks, bouncing back from that Jaguars loss. Philip Rivers has looked fine, and the rest of this team looks pretty decent. And I think that's enough to beat a very flawed Bears team.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked the Colts here.
No, I agree. I picked the Colts as well, and it's not. I'm going to give credit to the Bears because they're 3-0. They're finding ways to win games, and that's all that really matters. But they really shouldn't be 3-0. You've had 2 miraculous comebacks in the first 3 weeks, and that's not sustainable to win games. Nothing against the Bears. I think they can be a pretty decent team, and they're going to be competitive. A 3-0 is a great start. It's really hard to fall away and just become completely irrelevant after that kind of start. But they've had all their games have been kind of fluky. Their wins have been kind of fluky. And like you said, the Colts have been playing a lot better, and they've been impressive and shown flashes. So I'm going to take the Colts this one. No comeback wins for the Bears this week.
All right, cool. Next one is Cardinals-Panthers. So you've talked a lot about the Cardinals already. I'm going to tell you, keep this one short. But for me, I'm keeping it short too. Schematically, I think the Cardinals match up against the Panthers. Not just roster-wise, but schematically. I actually really like Teddy B against this Vance Joseph defense, but I like Kyler Murray more against the Panthers defense. I forget who their defensive coordinator is. That being said, I think if you can start Kenya, Drake, or Chase Edmonds, whoever, going a little bit, and then run some 5-receiver, 4-receiver sets, I think it'll be too much for this Panthers defense to really contain. So I definitely got the Cardinals in this matchup.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'm still trying to keep myself really grounded on this team because I don't know what they are yet, and they've showed their flaws. I'm waiting to see that big offensive explosion by this team. And yeah, they put up some points and they put up a lot of yards, but I'm waiting for that big complete game from the offense, and they just haven't shown it yet. They need to spread the football around, and I believe if they do that, do a better job of that and establish the run early on in this game, the Cardinals could pretty much take control of it and smoke them from there. No Christian McCaffrey. We got to take that into account as well. I'm going to take the Cardinals on this one. Panthers have owned us in the past, especially on their home turf, but I think the Cardinals escape probably. Trying to keep myself grounded, so I think the Cardinals probably escape with a close one here.
All right, I can see that. Rams-Giants. Rams, because Rams defense is going to maul Daniel Jones. Jared Goff doesn't even have to show up. Okay? Put Sean McVay in at quarterback. I don't care. This defense is going to maul Daniel Jones alive. The defense is the reason they're going to win this game. Whether or not Jared Goff pops off, I don't really care. Right? If he pops off, cool. That's fun. I like it when the Rams are fun. But this Rams defense is going to kill Daniel Jones. Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to go Rams too. I'm not a big fan of the Rams defense. They got a lot of great players, but it seems that they still give up a lot of points and yards. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen this week facing the Daniel Jones-led offense. There's a reason I picked up the Rams defense in fantasy this week. I believe there's going to be quite a few turnovers. I'm saying at least 3 from Daniel Jones this week. So, yeah, Rams. If you're turning the ball over 3 times,
right,
how many times are you
I'm
going to
give
win the
you
game?
the next 2 games to start out. So you're going to have the Bills and the Raiders and the Patriots and the Chiefs. What you got?
Bills and Raiders. That's a tough one, honestly. The Raiders have been a surprisingly very, competitive and good football team. They beat the Saints, and while the Saints maybe aren't quite
the world beaters.
Saints in primetime football is very, very impressive. Now, the Bills are just playing on another level, especially Josh Allen. They got a great defense. Josh Allen is leading that offense and doing an incredible job at that, and he's got a lot of really good weapons. I think that's what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to a lot of individual matchups, and I just kind of like the skill position players, and overall, I just believe the Bills have more talent here. It's going to come down to coaching, and I do believe John Gruden's a very, very good coach. So he's going to have his guys prepared, but I'm going to take the Bills in a close one.
Yeah, I've got the Bills here, and I actually don't think it'll be close, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. Reason why? Because Cam Newton sucked last week, and it was a stomp, more or less. It got out of hand. Like it was a dirty game. It was an ugly game for the first half, and then it got out of the Raiders' hands.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills are a better version of the Patriots right now. More or less. Right? Mm-hmm. Athletic quarterback, great defense, but who's a better quarterback, Josh Allen or Cam Newton right now? I'd say Josh Allen.
Right.
Defensive-minded head coaches? Yeah. Raiders are playing the better version of the Patriots in the Bills here. They're losing by probably 10 or more points. My opinion. Mm-hmm. But I like this Raiders team. I should say I like this Raiders team. I like where Derek Carr's going. I like the plan that John Gruden has. It's just unfortunate they had to play the Bills and the Patriots the next 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Sucks to suck, I guess. Patriots-Chiefs?
Patriots-Chiefs. That's going to be a good one.
I should tell you right now, it's in Kansas City.
Okay. Bottom line, Bill Belichick is always going to have his guys prepared.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be very, very rare that the Patriots get blown out.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what. I don't care who's playing for them. If Bill Belichick is the coach of that team, you're not going to just get smoked majority of the time. But Patrick Mahomes, you saw it. He just destroyed and dismantled. The score was a little bit closer. And they still, the scoreboard says, oh, the Ravens only lost by 2 touchdowns, and that seems like a lot. But the Ravens got their fucking ass kicked.
It felt like it should have been 4. It felt like the Chiefs should have dropped 50 points.
That and another touchdown that the Ravens scored wasn't even their offense. It was that punt return.
Yep.
So take that into consideration as well.
They were outclassed.
I think the Chiefs are playing on another level right now. It's another year of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, who are just a match made in heaven. Eric Bieniemy, it's just absolutely asinine that he is not a head coach yet. Man, this is a tough one. Both of these teams are going to be very well prepared. I think it's going to come down to the quarterbacks. Who's going to play better? And it's so hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes. Cam Newton's been so far pretty impressive. He had a pretty rough outing last week, but I believe he will bounce back. I'm going to take the Chiefs in a close one.
I'm taking the Chiefs here as well. Close or not doesn't matter to me. The last 3 games that the Chiefs have played against the Patriots, if I remember correctly, they are 2-1. Maybe they're 1-2, but they've been close no matter what. They've always been by a score or less. Mm-hmm. So I know Bill Belichick's going to be prepared for Andy Reid's defense, but I think the difference here is the Chiefs have a running back to work with, which didn't happen before. I don't know how the Patriots solve that. I don't know how the Patriots solve anything. They manage to solve it all the fucking time. Bill Belichick and Steve Belichick, dude, father and son, and they kill it. They absolutely kill it, right? And what's funny is Steve Belichick has actually been given more duties over the defense, and the defense has been stellar last year and this year. Mm-hmm. Despite the COVID dropouts.
All the opt-outs.
Yeah. There's still a stellar defense. Stephen Gilmore, I gave Stephen Gilmore a lot of shit for getting Defensive Player of the Year, but the more and more I watch him, the more and more I'm like, yeah, I think I know why. I think I know why he was given Defensive Player of the last year. So, you know what? If Stephen Gilmore's still there and he's locked down and he's doing his job, it can be close. I'm still picking Kansas City, though. It's kind of a till proven otherwise kind of thing, kind of like how I am with Seattle. 49ers, Eagles. Damn it. The Eagles are bad. I just got to say that. They're bad, dude. And And it's not just their offensive line. The receivers aren't great. Carson Wentz isn't playing well. Their defense isn't holding up. Dude, what's going on? Their kicker, Jake Elliott, couldn't secure the win against the Bengals with regulation going out in overtime. What a nightmare. And now you have to play the 49ers in San Francisco? I don't care that it's Nicky Mullins. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
The point is that Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh are the coaches, and they're doing a lot with nothing.
Right.
You know, just like how I picked the 49ers over the Giants, I'm going to handily pick the 49ers over the Eagles again. The 49ers have all these missing players, and the Eagles will get outcoached still.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that, and it sucks because, again, being a fan of an NFC West team, it's so hard to find losses on any of the NFC West team's schedule because we're playing the NFC East and the AFC East. It's hard to find losses on these schedules. That being said, Eagles are just a train wreck. They're very close to the same amount or same level of bad as the Giants, if you ask me. And we saw how that went. Or, excuse me. Well, yeah, the Giants. And I was thinking the 49ers played the Giants last week. They played the Jets. Excuse me. So, but I guess my point still kind of stands. They're kind of close to the same level, the Jets and the Eagles. Either way, it's pretty easy pick for me, and it's shocking with all the injuries they've had. It's 49ers.
Yep, I agree. So we have a doubleheader happening on Monday Night Football. We got the Steelers and the Titans. We already talked about why. Let's not talk about it again. And then the Falcons and the Packers. I'm going to make my pick for both teams here. Falcons and Packers. There is potential for this to be an explosive offensive game. I don't think that happens, but there's potential for it to happen. Whether or not it happens, I pick the Packers to win. Why? Because if there isn't an offensive explosion and it's one-sided, it's because the Packers are winning.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is a shootout, who are you betting on? I'm betting on Aaron Rodgers, so I picked the Packers there. As for the Steelers and the Titans, whether or not the Titans were going to have practice or not, I was looking at picking the Steelers this week anyway. In my opinion, they got one of the best defenses in the league. I think they can thrash the Titans here. And the Steelers' offense is fine. James Conner is actually playing well. I think the Steelers have... It's kind of weird to say this. I feel like the Steelers are the better version of the Titans. Better quarterback. Not the better running back, but a running back who's playing just as efficiently. Better wide receiver core, and the better defense. Yeah, I got the Steelers here. But the Titans can win this game. They can win this game. They absolutely can. But I give it to the Steelers. Regardless of whether the Titans were going to have practice or not, I was picking the Steelers anyway.
Yeah, for me, it's the Steelers. Like I told you earlier this week, I think the fact that the Steelers are being allowed, as they should, to continue business as usual is a huge advantage. A lot of people might disagree, but to me, I think not being able to rep exactly what you're supposed to be facing live in practice, in person, is going to be a huge disadvantage for the Titans, and they're not going to be as prepared as they should be. If you don't show up prepared in the NFL, you're going to have a bad time. I said it, and I'm going to say it again. Honestly, I'm probably going to, and I like the Titans.
Bro, this should have been your Hail Mary, by the way.
You know what? You're not wrong. But Steelers by 3 possessions. I just don't think the Titans are going to be well prepared enough. And yeah, it is kind of my Hail Mary, isn't it? But yeah, Steelers by 3 possessions. Sorry, Titans.
Man, that is such a hot take. I love it. I'm like smiling over here. Like I don't hate it, but that's such a fucking hot take. Man.
It's unfortunate. Hey, it's unfortunate. It's unfair. Sucks to suck. Sorry.
That's the way life is.
You're gonna get crushed. You're not gonna be prepared to play the game.
I'm assuming you're picking the Packers or the Falcons, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I can see a reality where the Falcons do win the game because they have played. That's the thing, is they can't play a complete game. They have not played a complete game. If they can play a complete game, they'll have a shot. But they haven't proved they could do that since their Super Bowl. Yeah, they won games in between, but they haven't been able to play a complete game in years. So I'm going to take. It's easily the Packers.
All right, cool. So we got it finished in under an hour and 49 minutes, which is 3 minutes faster than the last time. We're improving here. I wanted an hour 40.
Progress.
That's okay. We're progressing.
Progress.
So that's it from us. You're welcome to follow the HC Analysts. That's the show. You're welcome to follow Pardue over here at Analysts Sports AZ, and you can follow me at HC JC Sanders. So we love to talk football on Thursday and Sunday, and even in a little bit in between during the weeks. So that's it from us. So from us to you, we hope you have a wonderful day, night, whenever you're watching this, and we will see you next week.